emaphoyiseni ngoba vele indzaba leseyayingikhathathe lo uthi ngabe babambe bangakhi kule mphela sonto yini ke
AT&T
ya lokuthi banathe bese bashayela ya ngibude inombolo bathi yinze kakhulu in fact bathi nje bayaqala kuba nenombolo lengaka soloku baqala solo sabuya ku COVID-19 kanti ke indzaba lesikhudile ngelesihlanu ngathi kufuna salo siphuma ngensilane
impela khathatha impela sifisa ukuthi vele amaphoyisa njalo every weekend every Friday bahlala bacela sona sive ukuthi athi uthole loyo sober driver noma ke ucasha taxi kepha ke ungashayeli uma ngabe sowunathetshela ngokuthi kubanga netingoti
ngicabanga leyo lenzaba lehamba
laba innocent
Thombeni ngoba baye bantu ngathi sebakuthatha ngathi maphoyisa nje ashafuna kushaya umthetho ngathi afuna kusilwisa uyayuve nale language ebantfu la imotweni akade awubona emaphoyisa lapha mshiya lo asedanga ngale moto uva lama comments sebafunani bento umsebenzi wabo njengoba nawe uye emsebenzini wakho nje lomhlekuseni ngeke bese sithi soyapi ubuye emsebenzini waso ngeke ungikhathathe lendlela lesi perceive ngakhona emaphoyisa nanento umsebenzi wawo yini nje lelula na unathe tshwala ungashayeli imoto nangabe yonatha yini ungahleli ukuthi utawubuya ngeTax ngoba usibangela inkinga la mgwaqeni solo yindvo lesikhala ngayo lo bangathi ingoti na ungabanga itingoti hey kunenge
kulimala kwana nawe mngweni indzaba lenkulu kati leyo lekumele ukuthi mhlambe siyikhulume kanenge sibe nawo nje amaphoyisa lokuzama nje ukucwayisa sona sive kuze kungene ukuthi vele kusingashayeli sinathetshwala sisilapho nje sikhuluma nje ngetinkinga sakhuluma ngetinkinga letikhona lapha even inkinga ukuthi Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs Jane Mkhonde evikini liphelile announced a total ban on all single-use plastic carrier bags. Imvana ke imemetele la evikini liphelile yathi this measure is effective 1st December 2024 lo shokuthi kusesenesikhathi sisatawujwayela ukuthi ama plastic asesekhona and vena ivetile ukuthi ama plastic bags have long been a symbol of environmental harm in the country clogging waterways, endangering livestock and contributing to the global plastic crisis. Kule statement indvuna ivete ukuthi under the terms of the ban all retailers, ama supermarkets, manufacturers and vendors will be prohibited from selling or providing free single-use plastic shopping bags to my customers. Executive Director Eswatini Environment Authority Gcina Dladla will join us namuhla ehlelweni sifuna kuvuka ukuthi ngabe did government undertake comprehensive deliberations and thorough consultations with stakeholders regarding the ban of plastic nokuvuka ukuthi kahle vele ama plastic environmental harm kanjani lapha even sibonile ke iphephandzaba kule mphela somvoli ivela ukuthi utawula batawula hlekelwa ngumsebenzi bafika ku 8,000 sifuna ukuvuna ukuthi ngabe hulumende uyibukile leyo ndzaba leyo nokuthi uyayi-addressa kanjani sabe sinayo ngapha 6
ya kanti ke temidlalo indzaba lesitawuqala ngayo nje ukuthi encenye congratulations to Manchester United ngiyadluke ukuthi uthi ngiyathanza kubahleka akusiko kubahleka Thombeni kumangala bengimangala nabo ngicanga nanabo lokubawinile basolo bamangile ngoba kuwina it's very foreign ka Manchester United but they did win the FA Cup final on May 25th 2024 over the weekend defeating of course Manchester City, the very indomitable Manchester City. So it was quite surprising to see Manchester United win. I think this was just, a confirmation that the world is not linear indeed. Sometimes you expect certain results and it's never the case. Sometimes life forces you to calm down, and I think that was the case for Manchester City this weekend. 2-1 at Wembley Stadium. United's goals were scored by Alejandro Garnacho. Now, Kobe Mino in the first half, while Jeremy Doku netted a late goal for Manchester City. Congratulations again to Manchester United. Simangele nani nibonakala ngale ndlela leni bala ngakhona la tinkundleni tekuchumana ukuthi beningakugadi lokuwina. Indlela solo njabule ngakhona sijabula nani kodwa nje ngasalon khawula sengumsombuluko sibabonile bo City bawina kafana lendlela senenda ngayo kufuna nikutayele kuwina encenye kule season letako ndakutayela but congratulations again. But kuphela kwayo ke i-English Premier League kusekulethe ama tournaments lamanengi ama qualification lamanengi in the European competitions njenganako kulandzela ke kuna UEFA Champions League lapho khona sibone the top 4 teams as per usual in the English English Premier League qualify for the group stage of the UEFA Champions League qualifying. Manchester City, who are of course the champions. Arsenal, runner-ups in the English Premier League for the second time, have also qualified for the UEFA competition. Manchester United, funny enough, and Newcastle United. And then there's UEFA Europa League. The fifth placed team and the winner of the FA Cup qualify for the group stage of the UEFA Europa League. If the FA Cup winner has already qualified for the Champions League, for the Europa League via the league position, the sixth placed team in the EPL gets the spot. Liverpool were the fifth placed team qualified. Brighton and Hove Albion sixth place due to Manchester City winning, due to Manchester United winning the FA Cup and already qualifying for the Champions League. But what this means really is that competition UEFA Europa League, Conference League, UEFA Champions League, the Euros, there's quite a lot of them. Kanzi-ke naku La Liga njengoba sibuya kuyo impela sonto sibone match day 38 of 38. Some notable wins there, of course, for Real Madrid. I'm not surprised. I'm not even a Real Madrid fan, but it always pains me that I come here on this very seat and talk about Real Madrid wins, and it's something that has become common. So congratulations to Real Madrid again, winning over their last game of the La Liga. Barcelona as well over Getafe. They also won over the weekend. Really, really interesting matches that we saw over the weekend, but we'll discuss all of them and what they mean later on the program today. But indeed, we still look at the final match days of the La Liga season. Notable outcomes like Real Madrid's draw with Real Betis and Barcelona's decisive victory over Getafe. So ngakhulu ukuthi solo nihleli nathi sitawufuna ukubuka ihloko lethambo embili kumaphephandaba lomhla ekseni.
Siqale sibuke i-Times of Eswatini kuleto letihamba imbili lomuhla. 650 textile workers retrenched as company closes. No orders. Golden Jubilee retrenches all workers. Eyes USA market next. Workers get terminal benefits and will be given first preference when firm reopens. You can read more on page 2. Kuletinye tamba imbili. HMCS wins Standard Bank choral music competition again. Congratulations to them. And Segletinye Tamba Mbili Unyazi Lwezulu says he is here to make a history. And there are two charged with Mbonzela, a guard member. More on page 2. Kuletinye Tamba Mbili mob assaults teen accused of rape of 4 minors.
Times of Eswatini, 27th of May. It is a Monday. The leading story: Eswati eyes United Kingdom move as ex-Bird star is off to Northern Ireland. This is Richard McCreish, who is set to try his luck in Northern Ireland. Seven Dreams veteran midfielder, by the way, McCreish jets off to try his luck overseas. All the best to him. Singizin is best 14,000 emalangeni reacher. This happened during the awards, or rather the skillful midfielder Tubelihle Mavuso swept the boards during ambitious Premier League side and Singizini Hotspurs Awards. Siyambongela nabo bonke ke lababese bawina, including categories like most disciplined, most consistent, golden boot, golden glove, player of the year, under 19 team, most improved player of the year, most improved player. Yeah, nalamanye nje categories la bekhona. Asike kulenye Singizini confirm interest for the CAF Confederation Cup. The question is, will they represent Eswatini in the CAF Confederation Cup now that they've showed their interest? We don't know, we'll see. Southampton has been promoted to the Premier League. Welcome back to Southampton. Hope they'll be able to compete in the Premier League.
Leading headlines on the Eswatini Observer: the King says, "Pray for us." Ushogu Shembe. Leading Tamba Mbili Mbonzela missing guard to arrested charged with murder. duo had been assisting cops to find Vugani Mkwanazi. They recorded confession on Thursday, claiming there were 7 in total. 39 cases reported to police by Mbonzela farm owner. In other news, friends die by suicide days apart, and a cop caught stealing at Osu camp.
Nehamba embili kweSwatini observer kutemidlalo Nsikizini confirm CAF interest. Derek Shiba says they will grab opportunity with both hands. They will wait for PLE and EFA to decide, and he warns players from taking part in Stokvels. That's Derek Shiba, who is the owner of the ambitious Nsingizini Hotspurs, President Derek Shiba. He admitted indeed that they wish to take part in the CAF Confederation Cup. Amawele have been promoted to NFD. Msunduza-based side Amawele will now play their trade in the National First Division. That's going to be next season. They are the champions, by the way. And Nicholas Astombe, they are being shown celebrating after securing their spot in the MTN National First Division. Kusile Technical Center is like Dolo. Sihlango players report for camp. Dominic Kunene, the coach, is being seen there on that photo. And he says he is happy with the state of the players. Spirit Sabo.
All right, let's focus on the daily news. The king says prayers will help country attain its first world status. The king believes prayers will help the country attain its first world status. The monarchy said this when addressing congregants from the Nazareth Baptist Church yesterday. DPM urges responsible fire use to protect Kusile forest, and 3 SA banks buy government's 400 million bond.
Yeah. Kutemidlalo ku Eswatini Daily News Nsingizini for CAF Confederation Cup. The ambitious Kusile-based outfit, which is of course Nsingizini Hotspurs, they finished the season on 3rd position and defended Momo Cup, have filed requests with the Eswatini Football Association ekutheni badlale in the 2024-2025 CAF Confederation Cup. Antsekulenye indzaba Mxolisi Mkhonto's Galaxy bags Botswana title. Cruz beats emotional farewell to Real Madrid fans. Leto-ke tindzaba lethamba embili noma ke tihloko lethamba embili nomuhla emaphephandzabeni yelive la major lamatsatfu siyita ubahlulet market sitabuka indzaba talapha ekhaya eSiswati.
Girl, it's crazy how packed this place is during a live MTN Bushfire festival.
Definitely. Live music, umswengo, cultural exchange, there's so much.
And the funny thing is, you see those ladies in the back?
Definitely.
Kusile and Bella.
Yeah.
You know, kubalkhuni babona during a live Bushfire festival, but now they seem so close.
They seem so close, but bushfire kuba ngathi bakhashane kakhulu.
This is where it's going down, the belly of the beast and the heart of the fire.
And the beauty of it all is that we will be bringing you all the fire straight into your living room, as it happens the whole weekend.
So, catch the live broadcast of the MTN Bushfire Festival live on Eswatini TV during these times.
So it's Friday from 8 p.m. till 10 p.m., Saturday from 3 p.m. till 5 p.m., and again from 8 p.m. till 10 p.m.
And then we wrap up the entire festival on a Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m.
Are you ready to bring your fire?
Oh, but that's not all, isn't it, Bello?
Nope. This weekend, Eswatini will also be live from here.
Bushfire is back.
So make sure you tune in from the 31st of May to the 2nd of June right here on Eswatini TV.
Sotla mahla siphinde sinamukele ehlelweni sibonga ukuthi solo nihleli nathi kulesikhathi sidawubuka indzaba desiswati. Silo semhlaba sithi imithandazo elibandla leManazaretha ayitawulisita lakangwane ukuthi lifinyelele lapho liphokophele khona. Ingonyama beyiphefumula ngesikhathi kunetinkonzo telibandla leManazaretha esigodlweni eLutsitsini letephethe ngemigidvo lengcwele ngelisonto ekubeni kube nenkonzo nemthandazo ngemgcibelo. Lesigaba lesi saletinkonzo sibusiswe kuba khona kwendlovukazi Mhlekazi. Kanti lo mgidvo ungenelwe na inkosi yesive semazulu inkosi imisuzulu kaZwelithini.
Ekubeni kube nemthandazo esigodlweni eLutsitsini lebe ukwathi wendiwe libandla lakaShembe iNazareth Baptist Church lomuhla kuchubeke imigidvo lengcwele. Le migidvo icale enkhundleni khona esigodlweni ekubeni kufike silo semhlaba. Lo mgidvo bewukwathi ubusiswe nakuba khona kwendlovukazi Mhlekazi nenkosi yesive sakaZulu inkosi imisuzulu kaZwelithini. Abekuphindze kube nemakhosikati esilo Sigodlo, ndvunankulu welive, tindvuna tembuso, boba betukhulu kanye nalabanye labakhulu embusweni. Kule sigaba sesibili semthandazo lebe uthwelwe libandla lakaShembe tinkhulungwane temalunga alelibandla tetfule tinhlobo temigidvo leyehlukene embi kwemakhosi nemholi walelibandla His Holiness Mduduzi Shembe. Lokhu kulandzela ukuthi leli bandla leyame kakhulu emasikweni akaZulu. Ekhathi enkhundleni emalunga alelibandla bekade ehlukahlukene njengoba bekunabobabe kunabomake kunembali kanye nemajaha kanike leticheme ngalenkholo kuthiwa kunemakhosazana injobo Scotch kanye na Jamengweni. Sesiphefumulela umhlaba silo semhlaba sibonga umthandazo kanye nemigidvo lethulwe libandla leManazaretha. Ingonyama ithe umthandazo utawusita kakhulu live ukuthi lifinyelele lapho liphokophele khona.
Njoba ngonile nigitsa ngesindvu lokuhle ukuthi simkhonte uNkulunkulu ngaloku la sipha kona thina eAfrika. Siyabonga ke kakhulu ukubona lokho kusilethela umthandazo tibusiso eveni lakangwane. Siyati ukuthi lo senifikile live leMaswati liyawusala libusisekile lisale likhula etintweni letinyenti lindlondlobale emnothweni likhule licine libonale ukuthi liba live njoba siphokophele ukuthi sibe live leliyawubitwa ngalelinye ilanga kuthiwa iFirst World. Ufika kuFirst World ke idzingeka isupport nemthandazo longiwo lawuthandazela ukuthi konke kuhambe kahle ukuthi hawo bandla leManazaretha selisibekile kuNkulunkulu. Siyabonga kakhulu ngemusa longaka.
Libandla lakaShembe lasungulwa eminyakeni leminingi leyengcile kani linemalunga langetulu kwetigidzi letilishumi emhlabeni bese kuthi even leSwatini emalunga alelibandla angetulu kwetinkhulungwane letisiphohlongo. Etindzabeni kubika Pholile Maziya esigodlweni eLutsitsini.
Indvuna yelitiko letemabhizinisi nekutsengiselana umhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo ithi inkhundla yaseKhubutha ingilenye yetinkhundla lapho bantfu batawutfola ematfuba emisebenzi njengoba ke kunemcebo waphansi lowatiwa ngele-10 longahle uqale kumbiwa masinyane. Indvuna ithi lenkhundla itawuphindza ibe nemisebenti yemafemu lefaka ekhatsi luhlelo lwavukani bomake lolutawuvulwa masinyane. Indvuna beyikhuluma emcimbini wekubonga lohlelo inkhundla yaseKhubutha lapho lenkhundla beyiveta imisebenti lekhona nalefisa kutsi ibe khona.
Sive lesingephansi kwenkundla yaseKhubutha besihlangene sizingidza tindzaba letiphatselene nentfutfuko. Lesive besimeme indvuna yelitiko letemabhizinisi umhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo lefike yetfula tindzaba letimnandzi letiletsela litsemba kutsi lesive saseKhubutha sitawucashwa masinyane etinhlelweni letahlukene.
Kule nkundla lena kuna mineral naye lebathi tin. Lapha nje nyalo sesibuka indlela yokuthi laba prospectako batawu prospector njani ukuze ukuthi bakhone lokuthi bayigubhe le tin ngoba itin ya exportwa bekunene yinto ledingeka mhlaba wonke. Kunye ke lengicela kwethembisa ukuthi uma umuntu abuya ngitawubuya nalenye iprogram. Le program ibita ngekuthi vukani bomake. Le program le yakavukani bomake isebenta ngekuthi uma ngabe senaleli hulumba lesitawuthi ngesilungu imini factory lengaba khona bese sekutake labo somaguzumbela baka textile bafike basho ukuthi nineke sitawucela ukuthi nisithungele lokhu.
Lilunga lephalamende lenkundla yaseKhubutha Mzwandile Mamba livete tinhlelo tetekulima letikhona kule nkundla kanye netinkinga letikhona.
Sesiyakhona la kuthenini vele umbila lakaphunga ikakhulukazi iphunga lihlala abantu nakholwane lolatulu. Ngeke usalinyelwa ukuthi udliwe. Sesibambisene naba iweight kwekuthi sijoine tandla kwekuthi phunga ahambe ayensimini Khubutha ayensimini ayolimela ibhizinisi.
Lenkundla ingilenye yetinkundla hulumende latfumele inkampani letfutfukisa tekulima iweight kuthi ke itfutfukise lo mmango ngetinhlelo tetekulima. Lo msebenzi bongenelwe nangilamanye emalunga ephalamende. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngiSonto Mlangeni naLington Gule naSikhumbuzo Dlamini eKhubutha.
Lilunga lephalamende lenkhundla yasemanzini South umhlonishwa owenxumalo selethembise bantfu labadzala baseNgwane Park kutsi itawusenjetwa indzaba yema-rates lekhatsata bantfu labadzala labahlala emadolobheni. Nxumalo kuvete loku ngesikhatsi libandla lenkhundla lihlangene nesive saseNgwane Park sukwini layitolo.
Emalunga ephalamende yabonakala asivisisa impela sicelo sesive sekuthi emalunga akangabi indlala etinkundleni. Ilunga lephalamende lenkundla yasemanzini South umhlonishwa owenxumalo lomuhla uhlangene nesive saseNgwane Park kutawuva ukuthi yini ijinsaya letibhekene nalesive kanye naloko lebafuna ukuthi akulungise ephalamende.
Sesibeke i-program in place lokuthi sitabubuya nini sitabubona nini namhlanje besitowufa lokuthi sitobaneketa ukuthi sesendeni nokutobuta bona ukuthi yini itimilo abathufunako lokuhamba ke phambili ngilendzaba yema-rates labantu labadzala sebadzala la bebaso babhadala lama-rates namakhona kusebenza. So ngiyajabula ke lokuthi indvunankulu uyitsinzile indzaba ye-rating act ukuthi aseyi-amendwe. Lenye ke indzaba lehambe phambili indzaba yokuthi abantu labasha bakacashwa. Sisiteke nyalo njengoba ingwenyama iphumile yakha buhlobo lena nalena but tikhona letikhwama labantu labasha abatisebenzise njana i-youth fund nje abangene kuyo beve basebenza phela whilst ingwenyama sibuka ema-investors kuvulwa tinkampani ukuthi abantu labasha bacashwe.
Kanti ke lokhulumele sona sive kakhulukazi abantu labadzala uvelena nayo avumelana nayo umhlonishwa ukuthi indzaba yema-rates ngiyona ibakhasata kakhulu bantu labadzala labasedolobheni lokufaka ekhatsi bona balapha eNgwane Park.
Ma-rates labangibite wona bangibite 3,408.80 cents. Imali ngibhadale 500 ngoba kude la ngithola khona imali. Ngithola lo 500 ngiyothenga kudla angakuthengeke kule nyanga solo ngidlalelo bhadlela la ngalela langa.
Inkundla ke ikhiphe imali lengangenkulungwane emalangeni kufaka esikhwameni lesisita emaphoyisa emango labuka ke bucala lobendeka ke ebusuku kudonzayo letfaya ekhatsi bongwane Park. Etizabente Eswatini TV ngilington Gule nambonga Dube siseNgwane Park kaManzini.
Indvuna yetisebenti umhlonishwa waphila Buthelezi ithi kuyajabulisa kubona tinkampani letitimele tichubeka nekwesekela luhlangothi lwemakhono eveni. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhathi ingenele umchudzelwane wemakwaya amakhulu esibayeni Lodge kuMathaba.
Alishumi lonyaka imakwaya laciselene ngephansi kwe-Standard Bank Choral Music Competition lechubekako ehhotela esibayeni Lodge kuMathaba. Lo mcimbi ungenelwe nayindvuna yetisebenti umhlonishwa waphila Buthelezi lechazile ukuthi hulumende ikakhulukazi litiko letisebenti liyawesekela lo msebenzi lona libambisene nelitiko letemidlalo ingani emaswati ayaphila ngemakhono lanawo kanti ke indzaba yemakhono ngiyona igijinyiswa kuletinsuku.
Ticula ingxenye yamakhono eveni lafuna ukukhuthazwa ngoba khona labaphilako nelikhono lomhlabeni. So sithe nje nathi njengabathanzi balomculo sithe njengama-clients e-Standard Bank sithe njengeSwati nje leli elifisa ukusapotha lamanye amaswati. Sijabulile kulesikubonile so far siyethemba ukuthi ngomsebenzi otawuchubeka in leaps and bounds and kusithokozisile ukuthola ukuthi lakangwane vele noma sichudzelene nabomakhelwane libonakala lihlabana so kufuna sichubeke sifake amandla.
Sihlalo we-Eswatini Choral Music Association uDumisa-ke emaswati lachubekako nekusekela lo mchudzelwano lobonakala ukuthi uyakhula ngeminyaka.
Lisedulu kakhulu emakhaya athi lungisiselele ngempela and siyajabula kakhulu si-association ukubona abantu basapotha ngalendlela itengale kuningi babo ngalendlela kuto support lona mchudzelwano.
Libhange le-Standard Bank lithi litawuchubeka libe nebudlelwano lobuhle nalenhlangano ingani nalo libhange lithi litimisele ukuchubeka nekwesekela luhlangothi lwemakhono kuleli.
Sizakuchubeka lo msebenzi lo asibakhuthaze laba labahlabelayo ngoba kunyenti lesingakhanza ukuthi bayakuzuza through umculo ibhange liyajabulela kakhulu umsebenzi ofana nalo.
Nasihlanganisa lo mbiko emakwaya-ke bekasolo enta letibukwako kusede lohambe embili. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV ngingilingithini Gule nginathonda kuhle Mdluli sikuMathaba.
Bantfu labasha belibandla le-Baptist Church bebafundiswa kabanti ngekuvikela tifo kanye nekuhlola tifo. Labantfu labasha bathi kubasitile ukuthi bafundziswe kabanti ngetintfo lekufanele batigweme kude bangatawutikhanza banetifo telicansi kanye-ke nekukhulelwa sikhatsi sisengakafiki. Labantfu labasha bebafundiswa belitiko letemphilo.
Belitiko letemphilo ngemkhankaso wekufundisa abantfu labasha ngekuthi batigcine, basoke, baphindze batihlole. Beliphume umkhankaso wekuvakashela belibandla le-Baptist Church lelikamkhweli. Leli tiko-ke belilethene imijovo lefaka ekhatsi umjovo we-HPV kanye-ke nemjovo wekuvikela umkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Labantfu labasha baveta labakufundzile.
Batosifundisa ngetingoti te-HIV neyokuthi kumele sisheshe sihlole. Sifundzile nje lokuningi, safundza nange-cancer.
Kufuna sifunze kuligcina because kuthiwa ema-sexual reproductive organs ethu ayakhathala masicala lemidlalo yebantfwana ngesikhathi yamina imidlalo yabantu abadzala ngesikhathi lesingasigahle. Ngase ngifunza ukuthi nje singabathuna kufuna sikhuthaze ukuthi sihambeni siyosoka ngoba kunetifo ngifana nabo HIV.
Umfundisi waleli bandla Mzondile Kametse uthi-ke libandla kufanele linakekele tonke tidzingo telibandla.
As much as spiritually sikukhulumisa lokwekuthi bantu kabakhonde besabe uNkulunkulu nasempilweni siyafisa lokuthi baphile kubede lokuthi umntwana sihamba naye kanti lomunye uyaphunyuka umntwana abese kungentini kahle empilweni yakhe asimlahli sifuna lokuthi aphile nasenyameni nasemphefumulweni ngiloko sibone ukuthi kukuhle ukuthi besingeda la sithe uhlanganyela kanye nalaba betempilo.
Calvin Dlamini lofundzisa ngetemphilo uthi-ke sive besihlola shukela futhi-ke sifundziseka nangekutiphatha lokuphephile.
Bantfu labasha ngibo bantfu lesiyaye sikhone kuthola ingadi kibo ngoba incane tifo lebanato. So-ke cishe ngileto-ke lihlelo sililethile la nalokuthi sijabulela ukuthi sibitwe lisondvo ahlangene nalamanye emasondvo.
Imikhankaso lenjengalena ifundisa sive ukuthi sinakekele impilo yaso lokuhambisana nesicubulo salonyaka selusuku letemphilo lesithi impilo yami lilungelo lami. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni Kamkhweli.
Kutemidlalo, Mcebo Mkhaliphi senguye champion wemidlalo wematubane esigabeni se-200 meters. Lokhu kulandzela ukuthi ashiye Sibusiso Matsenjwa kanye naThandaza Azwane emqhudelwaneni lomkhulu wenhlangano yemidlalo wematubane ema-National Championships. Bongiwe Mahlalela yena ukhonile kuvikela isicoco sakhe esigabeni se-100 meters kanye ne-200 meters.
Kusalungiselela imidlalo lemkhulu ema-National Championships enhlangano lengamela umdlalo wematubane kube kunenge ukukhuluma ikakhulukati ukuthi ngibani lo towahamba embili esigabeni se-100 meters kanye ne-200 meters. Libe seliyafika lelo suku Mcebo Mkhaliphi waticeza tinkulumo esigabeni se-200 meters.
Jabule kakhulu ukuthi ngiphumelele ngigcine ngibe champion before the big guy or after the big guy. Ngijabule kakhulu ukuthi ngitive ngikhona kugijima 200 kalula kanjeni.
Esigabeni se-100 meters Sibusiso Swazibholt Matsenjwa labekavikela lesicoco labekasagijima ama-National Championships akhe ekugcina uphindze wahamba embili.
15 years and this was my last race here at home, 100 meters, and I know that I just have to stay positive and execute the race. Yeah, that's how I did my job here today, and yeah, I've won the title so easy to.
Kanti Bongiwe Mahlalele yena akabi nebulukhuni bekuvikela isicoco sakhe se-100 meters kanye ne-200 meters.
Most of the time, I always say I want to have confidence enough, not being overconfident, and also I need adrenaline to push myself. And I'm happy even with the time it shows ukuthi I push angakhobosi mumvu bengihambela nje ngigijimela race yami with my competitors, so ngathi pushela ukuthi ngigijime isikhathi lesisharp lesiright along my times in 100 meters, other than looking at the fact that ngidi competition.
Kanzi ngaphasi kwetingijimi letingephasi kweminyaka lelishumi nemfica esigabeni se-100 meters Livia Manyatsi kumantombazana nguyelo ohamba embili, kubafana Fong Madonsa waba nguyelo ohamba embili, kanzi naleminye imidlalo lefa ikhatsi high jump, javelin, shot put nayo ichubekile. Lenhlangano ithi ijabule kakhulu ngelizinga lelikhonjiswe ngito tingijimi kule midlalo lokuletha lithemba ukuthi nakuyiwa ngaphandle live litawumeleleka kahle. Lobikela umsakazi Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kaManzini.
Sitophetha kanjalo indzaba tesiswati sitawuba hlola emarket sitawubuya masinyane sichubeke nehlelo.
Eswatini National Petroleum Company proudly presents to you the Monday edition of Market View, where business news are reported and analyzed by a cast of experts and correspondents to deliver unrivaled facts and figures from the business world. Catch this edition every Monday at 2 p.m. brought to you by Eswatini National Petroleum Company.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900433037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163. or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela Naulo Sanza Gusi Vulela. Iviki eliphelile, the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Make Jane Mkonda, announced a total ban on all single-use plastic carrier bags. Mvunake this measure is effective on the 1st of December 2024. Plastic bags have long been a symbol of environmental harm in the country, clogging waterways, endangering livestock, and also contributing to the global plastic crisis. I'm joined by the Executive Director Eswatini Environment Authority, Mr. Gcinadladla, ukuthi kahle kahle yini le harm lena ema-plastic la ikhozako kwi-environment yakithi kanye nato tilwane. Sifuna ukwenza ukuthi ngabe vele mhlambe who is prohibited also from selling ema-plastic lapha eveni nasekufike yena lo the 1st December 2024. Mr. Dladla, asikuvusele, thank you for joining us namhla ekuseni. Le announcement lena has caused public outcry, particularly on social media. Babuthi imibuto leminingi bafuna timphendvulo, bafuna kuchazeleka ukuthi ingabe uhulumende ufike njani kulesinqumo lesi. Sifuna ukuvuka ukuthi vele did government and the ministry go all my deliberations nema stakeholders nema consultations nje size sifike lapha kulesinqumo la nifike khona.
Good morning Mthombeni, sivusele nembukele ekhaya. Usoyitsinzile uteka yona njoba ushito sibonge kuhulumende kuyo indvuna ngalesi memedelo. Mthombeni ke ngingathi nje kulolo itsinzako umntwana nangabe aphethe ishashadi umgeza vela kubi mnanzi. Noma nawe nje kuthiwe hayi uhamba ukhipha litinyo nomuntu avuka kasasa sowuphilile utimangale nawe uqale kube ebhlungu vele. Indzawo yeplastic ke sesilidayele sisive society as a whole ngeke ukuthi it has now become part of our life everywhere. Njoba wathi ukuthi le plastic noma induna beyikhuluma ngalawa ekuthenga lawa lesiphatha ngawo, kodwa plastic lisempilweni yethu yonke. Naleti impahla lesigcokile Mthombeni letinye tato natakhiwa liyafakwa plastic. So ke it's an important product ku economy, kodwa Mthombeni bungoti balo nemthelela walo umukhulu kakhulu. Ngolo wento elive lefika la sesifike khona sikhola ukuthi simaswati njoba induna beyisho kwethu ukuthi asibambisane kulelo itsinzako ye consultation sibuya khashana nalenzabe ama plastic Mthombeni. Utakhumbula ukuthi sicale kubohloba Swaziland sizama ukufundisa sive ikakhulu ngoba plastic bese latiwa njengembali la ku highway nje kubodalati nakubo Phoenix bokulenga lona ihlahleni. Sizama ke ukuthi asimane sibambisane sibuke ukuthi silisusa njani iplastic. Sifike ke eminyakeni wa 2015 la lapho saqala khona umkhankaso we no plastic campaign. Le no plastic campaign, it was the first campaign that we introduced to try and sensitize emaswati ngel plastic ikakhulu leliphuma etitolo. Sathi nasicetha leyo campaign iParliament iyayicela indvuna ukuthi ayilethe umthetho lotawuzama kuyisebenta lendzaba. Umthetho ke wathebulishwa nga 2015 kwekucala la lapho nje waqala kukhulunywa khona ikakhulu eParliament kusukela ku 10th Parliament 2015. Kusukela nga 2015 Mthombeni up to the time umthetho la lapho khona indvuna iyawugazetha khona nga 2021 bekendeka lama consultations. Besiya isibe nanako lokuthiwa ngema waste indaba for instance since 2016 la lapho khona bese engage nesive nakuma regions nato tonke tinhlangothi lapho sikhuluma khona lenzabe ukuthi live kufanele ukuthi lithathe tinyathelo letitsite ukuze ukuthi lendzaba yeplastic sikwadi ukuyisebenta njengelive.
Yeah, I think njengoba lokuchaza nje Mr. Dladla, I think siyavela sithombe ukuthi vele ama-plastic ayingoti kakhulu esiveni. I think bensoloni ivete indzabe ukuthi vele ayingoti futhi nalokuthi labanye balahla tibi emifuleni kwenza ukuthi itilwana tsakhona kunatsa kahle setiyalimata. Uma nje kuzivetela leso sithombe sokuthi vele kahle kahle what is the harm that is caused by ama-plastic bags lawa lamancane?
Indzaba yeplastic ihlupha ngokuthi even if you look at the life cycle from lela lapho extractwa khona lo oil ngoba plastic lakhiwa nga oil from the extraction already you are talking about serious contributions to climate change through the greenhouse gas emissions that comes from there. But unfortunately ke lama impacts don't end there. They are spread throughout the life cycle kusukela le ku cradle to grave nasingabekisa ngelwimi lesilungu. But lokwendekako lesikutholile ukuthi kunetinhlobo letimbili tendlela leplastic lala lihlupha khona. Yekucala kuloko ukuthi aliboli. Lokungaboli kwalo ke ngikoloku lenta libe so popular ukuthi abantu balisebenzise. Unfortunately lokungaboli kwalo akusho ukuthi aliphushuki. Liyaphushuka bese liba kunako lokuthiwa ngama microplastics. Once it becomes these microplastics, it then finds its way to our human body through the water that we drink. Ngekuthi lama microplastics ayancipha abe mancane. Nawuthi unathe amanzi akho noma ngizemfuleni noma ngona leswathengako ngalokuthi vele kwawona asemaplastikini nebhodlela emaplastic siyawanatha vele. So there are two main issues umhlabhlangene lati tholile ikakhulu lo letinkinga lehamba embili. Ngilo ukuthi vele emaplastic ayibanga icancer kumuntu. That's the number one problem that we have, not only as the live la kangwane. Yesibili kunako lekuthiwa endocrine disruption. Le endocrine system kumbe balingani bamba ka health bangayichaza ngiyela ngoba vele sisebenza nabo lenzaba. Le endocrine disruption lo ukuthi umtimba womuntu usebenta ngema hormones. Kusukela umntwana atalwa ngema hormones lathi usalukhula nyalo. So ngumfana wena untombatana. Sale ulive lishintsha. Sale kucala forma slave. Nyalo sale le system yomuntu ngile iphethwe ngile endocrine system yona switchboard yomuntu. So uma ngabe anything that disrupts the endocrine system konke kutawonakala. Kungako lamhla sesinetifo letiningi lethambelana nema hormones kwabona labo cancer, the hormonal related cancers, bo prostate, bo breast cancer and all of those things. That has been confirmed by peer reviewed scientific evidence ukuthi vele emaplastic ikakhulu ngokuthi lama plastic afaka nawo lekuthiwa ngama additives. Akusiyo nje le plastic kuphela bese khona lokufakwa ukuthi le plastic libe liflata libe mnyama libe bofu lingaphuki na uligoba. All of those things ngilama additives leta nalemitselela lengoti kubantu.
All right.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dladla, the government has taken this measure ukuthi abhene ama-plastic bags. I think dinengting from mhlawumbe lesingathi harm to the environment. Ngiyakhuluma nje ukuthi vele solo kusukela katheni solo niyakhala nange-ma disposable nappies as well ukuthi vele now they cause a harm to the environment. Ngabe singagathani ukuthi nakhona uhulumende mhlawumbe sotayibuke tayenza ukuthi nakhona athi uhulumende yawabhenisha ama-disposable nappies njengoba athatha isinqumo sokubhenisha ama-plastic bags sitawufika yini lapho siyatibona yini sifika lapho sisilivele Eswatini?
Mthombeni angichazele kokucala ukuthi kule approach uhulumende la ithethe yekuthi how do we tackle lama plastic ngoba maningi ubekisa ngama dispose njenyalo kuna naku lesebenta lesiphakela ngakwe emingcwabeni lokwe styrofoam ngoba there is what to call polymers. Kulama polymers there is what to call problematic and avoidable polymers. Amongst the top list of these problematic and avoidable polymers lama plastic ngilamanye lawa ekuphatha lambe mbili naku lesitamatisa ngako tinkomishi del coffee, all of those things, those are the problematic polymers lekutawuthi ngakuthi sicale ngato ukususa emanabukeli unfortunately nanawo part of it li plastic ngikolo kwenta lokho ukuthi ikakhulu noma sowalahlile ahlala lapha nanawo angaboli because kune plastic lining la kulo ecards. So ke kule hierarchy of the regulations a conversation around ukuthi into lefana nema disposable nappies because of the other social impacts ikakhulu lokhanza ukuthi kule hierarchy awenda kube likhuni ukuthi ama alternatives awo ashasha bekhona ngilokunye lokufanele ukuthi ezilive njengoba induna ayishito kule statement ukuthi nyalo sibuka imigomo lengatsinzana kulokuthiwa i-extended producer responsibility which simply says lo wakha lelinabukeli akabe ne-responsibility ekugcineni ekuthenini lo mmake nasalisebenzisile le plastic amile linabukeli ulilahla njani. So there has to be a framework lesitawuvumelana ngayo silive ukuthi how do we tackle those things.
Yeah.
So those are the plans lefuna siwabuke but vele linabukele nanalo ngilokunye lesikusebenzayo ukuthi sithole ama alternatives sitokwazi ukuthi senze kuko.
So nasibuka nje mhlambe global strategy Mr. Dladla ngoba ngidakholelwa ukuthi vele bakhona lemihlangano vele kubuketa the different types of ama plastic kunama refuse bags kunaleti khwama leti like bakusho khona abo shukela nabo rice nani so in the future engabe vele mhlambe le strategy sithini na so the tawfairs were out tawenda kan sithini le strategy.
Currently there is an ongoing process negotiate a globally legally binding agreement tackle plastic pollution. You'll probably check on the information that is available. Would see currently we're producing as a globe more than close to 500 million tons of plastics annually. So that's a huge amount of plastic material that we need to progressively over time phase out. Lokhu lesikucalile thina silivela kangwane is only a very small first step. Le finance sisithathe kungako simaswati funa ukuthi sikubonge lokhu khulumende. Sibonisana lokho ukuthi how do we move to the next phase of this process. Ngoba njoba ngibekisa nje there will be a global agreement by the end of this year by November. Which is being negotiated and livela kangwane nalo liyazama kufaka umuvo walo lokukhulu ke noko mthombeni lefuna ukugcizelele ngiloko ukuthi the efforts has to be in place for what we call just transition, which is what we are trying to do here. Yokuthi while we are trying to deal with the problem, we are also listening to the concerns from those labati. How do we ensure that as we transition to these sustainable alternatives, we create more jobs locally, which is what we are trying to encourage here. Because as we ban plastic, a lot of our plastic are being imported from other countries. So we don't want to see a situation where these reusable bags, lama alternatives nanawo adawugcina angena from other countries. Kungako sisebenta netinhlangano letikhona la letifana nabo vukani bomake bo business Eswatini tonke inhlangano labo somabhizinisi ekuthenini akumane kukhuthadwe emaswati noma ngisethi inkundleni noma ngikhona la emadolobheni kwakhiwe letikhwama. As a country currently we are sitting with a huge problem ye textile waste lebuya la mafemini nase bajubilela lolokusalako. We want to use those things to kwakha letikhwama to avoid the problem and create more jobs as well khona la ekhaya ukuze ukuthi emaswati akwade kuphila kuchubeke.
Yeah, speaking of jobs, I think nje washito nje masingena Mr. Dladla ukuthi bamfu bakhalile especially on le post le nje ka Facebook la post khona statement minister ukuthi bamfu batalahlekelwa imisebenzi, possibility of closure lama factories ngabe vele uhulumende uyibukile nayo lenzaba leyo ukuthi vele kutaba nale chaos le ukuthi vele batalahlekelwa imisebenzi. Ngibonile nje one of the newspapers lapha eSwatini bavetele ukuthi close to 8,000 jobs will be lost during to the announcement le noma during to the ban le ngabe uhulumende uyibukile nivele mhlambe lenzaba le ngoba ngala naye uhulumende uyazama ukuthi a create imisebenzi, a create ama job opportunities for emaswati especially bamfla basha. Ngibukile into konithatha le decision.
Uhulumende uyibukile leyo ndzaba mthombeni sekuthi nje ke kukhona la bese bayidunga kwekuthi kwekucala bakhulise leti nombolo bakhulume ngabo 8,000 without verifying ukuthi nasingasuka nje la sehle siyobuka ukuthi bakhona indlela abantu labang 8,000 labaqashwe ngulama firm la khala ama plastic ungakhanza ukuthi lapho singaba nebulukhuni lapho kodwa lesikushoko ngiloko ukuthi le ndzaba yemisebenzi yema jobs itekwa ingafike egcineni ngaloko ukuthi njengoba ngisho nje uma ngabe singasakhe ama-plastic akusho ukuthi lo kunye sesiyakumisa but akuchubeka bawakhe ama-plastic lawo ekubotsa tibi bachubeka bawakhe ama-plastic nangafaka bobuhlala urice nabo bani le tinto leti safaka ema-plasticini la kangaka iningi lato akukhona la kumathapha lokutawendeka nje la ukuthi kune line of production that will be affected lena lethinza the plastic carry bag but akusho ukuthi yonke le firm sayitawuvalwa and uhulumende ukushitho ukuthi from now until December in fact akusiko even from now so lo mthetho washayo enduna iyavele yakubeka kulabo bekunene ukuthi asibambisane sibone ukuthi how do we adjust le transition kuze ukuthi ngalesikhathi minister afika kulesigaba la safike kuso sesikwatile lokuyi-adjusta but lengikusho ukuthi kubhlungu vele ukuthi noma ngabeke kumunye umuntu olahlekelwa umsebenzi asifuni ukubona lokho but lesifuna ukubona ukuthi uma ngabe lokho kuyendeka asithola indlela yokuthi sikucompensate kanjani ngekuthi letikhwama lesilethe atingene tonke atakhiwe la ekhaya nabo betitolo vele siyakhonkosela kubo ukuthi abasube bekunene bayashuba tikhwama outside the country abasupport labo make la nanathi asisupport labo make labathengisa tikhwama la le economy iqiniswe ukuthi thina sisupporta locally itaba lapho nje saze senda lokho actually this step has a potential of creating more jobs for the Swazi economy so that's what we are trying to also support as the Environment Authority nangisuka lapha nje sidabe sikhulumisana nato tinhlangano tabasoma business ukuthi kungendiwa njani kungabanjiswana njani kuze ukuthi kusekele leto tinhlelo ukuthi letikhwama takhiwe la and letitolo tiba support laba bekunene.
Speaking of more opportunities nje msadla sho ukuthi kulo 6 months nje Maswati shothi anesikhathi to come up with ideas ma substitute etikhwama in the first world countries nje basebenza kakhulu ama paper bags lokusho ukuthi mhlambe Maswati mhlambe nyalo kulo 6 months nje kumele usahlale phasa ukuthi ingabe angawakha kanjani ama plastic lokho nekushoko mhlambe nehulumende.
That's exactly what we are saying Ntombeni and ironically we do have a paper mill here Matapa nabo ngilabanye lesibakhuthatako ukuthi aba consider in their line of production we introduce the paper bags because nakhona ema paper bags yawathanda but nakhona uma ngabe we are going to import them akuyisidi le economy in our view so we would want ukuthi nangabe sikwenda and we have the capacity here, let's do it here so that we can support the local economy. That's the only way we can manage this just transition. Kujikelana ngokuthi bantu abangaka batala bahlela umsebenzi singasabuka lo ngeshare ukuthi yena yini la ngakuthola awuyiphethe kahle le debate around the issue of jobs. So ngo sithi working with government and all our partners we are willing to engage on that nekokuthi sibuke ukuthi how do we support those initiatives ikakhulu nanga la grassroots based and I know ukuthi tikhona tinkundla letinato letinhlangano labo make letithunga kuletikhwama lokwati limata ngalesikhathi saphatha sakho kwaba ngona lokho ukuthi abesabuya lama plastic bantu abaprefera lokuvela lithenga lesitolo kunoko ukuthi athenge lesikhwama saphatha sakho kanzi that's where we want to go and phatha sakho was all about that.
Yeah, lo sho ukuthi mhlambe nje kusukela lo 1st December nje manufacturers, retailers, supermarkets bonke batabe ba prohibited from selling lama plastic.
So from 1st December we will not allow anyone to import any type of plastic bags. And from 1st December all the retailers will not be allowed to sell or even freely distribute plastics to consumers. So that's what we are trying to do. And logo ngikhola ukuthi it's something letawuba nemthelela lomkhulu lo positive for a country. As a tourist or a tourism based economy kutasita nje kwatiwa ngalokuhloba ukuthi ngoba le plastic aphandle kwakho konke lenkubalile. When it is there lying dead in the environment, it's really not good for our country, and we can't really wait for a country where you will just drive and see our beautiful country without the plastic. And ngiloko lesizama kukwenda and ngingafisa lokho ukuthi live lisibambise njoba besolo lisibambisile sikwati ukuthi silithathe live lethu liyembili singabuyele emuva kulendzaba le ikakhulu le yalama plastic ngokuthi siyafisa nathi kuqhubekela kulokunye njengoba usho ukuthi tinkinga leti siphethe ka environment dinenge and li plastic ngilokunye lesizama ukusebenza and lokhu ke Mthombeni akusho ukuthi tinhlelo letifaka ikhathi labo aba recycling in general setitaguma. Instead we will be strengthening those programs more ngoba siyathi ukuthi njoba ngisho plastic is only probably just a fraction, maybe 1 or 2% of the plastic economy as a whole. So we still have the PET, mabhodlela, and all of these things. We still need to recycle those things, and we need to strengthen all our programs on that.
So kulo 6 months ataba khona in public awareness campaigns mhlambe kutawube ama campaigns akadzeni ihloba Eswatini phatha sakho nawo yini le ntaba neyenda nje kulo 6 months.
We will be going out with those campaigns to educate amaswati, kuwa encourage naloku kusebenza ke Mthombeni kakhulu behind the scenes to build these alternatives, help amaswati build these alternatives. Ngiloko lesitabe sikwenda lo njoba usho nje, we will be going out totonke tifunza totine kuwakhumbuta amaswati ngoba basically sekuwakhumbuta makakhulu ngoba na ukhuluma ngaphatha sakho nje kude lo ngamboni iphatha sakho ngoba lokho lesikwendayo ngilophatha sakho sekuthi nyalo sohamba nemithetho itolo besithi wena kunene phatha sakho nje voluntary but nyalo sengiphatha sakho lo nemithetho that is enforceable, that will be enforceable effective ngalo 1st December. And we wouldn't want to be going around sikhosholoda titolo sesikhanza dichubeka nekuthengisa amaplastiki and all of those things, but nje uma ngabe when it comes to that vele kutafuna ukuthi sibambisane nema law enforcement agencies nabo masipala sibonisana ukuthi how do we deal with that. But we wouldn't want ukuthi size sifike lapho. We would want to see the spirit nje ukuthi kubambisana sikwadi kusebenzisana kanye as we find these alternatives, and there's a lot of excitement in that. And abantu labasha siyafisa ukuthi babe part of this movement ikakhulu of finding alternatives, these exciting bags and all of those, and we will be probably considering things like fana naleto ma competitions, the most innovative bag. Ukhona sikhwama ngasibona nje lesi los folder ko sibe ngazuthi i clutch bag yabo maka sina zip waso na ucaca lo zip siyavuleka sibe sikhulu kube shopping bag. Those are the things we would want to see coming in and being introduced into the economy. Maswati atowati kuchubeka asibambise kulo hlelo Mthombeni.
Yeah, right. Thanks so much Kakhulu Mr. Dladla. Sesema ukuthi amaswati lamaningi aphembulekile kuyo lendzaba indlela lenze lena lesisuka kuyo litiko letekuvakasha ngoba indzaba lenkulu lena indzaba yema plastic njengoba savedile nje Mr. Dladla ukuthi vele ayilimata kakhulu environments netilwane nakhona njengoba vele ama plastic ayingoti. 1st December 2024 etokucala kusebenta lo mthetho. Sibahlole emakethe sidaba esichibene hlelo.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokho sivile sive sitikhulume.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. Israeli warplanes and artillery pounded Rafah after the government dismissed an order by the top UN court to halt its military offensive in the southern Gaza city. Meanwhile, Hamas claimed to have captured an Israeli soldier during fighting in northern Gaza and released a video late Saturday showing a wounded man being dragged through a tunnel. Israel's military denied any soldiers had been captured.
There is at least one undisputed reality on the ground in Gaza. Air and artillery raids have been intense across the enclave. The Israeli army has released footage saying it has hit Hamas targets and evacuated bodies of hostages from underground tunnels. On Saturday night, Hamas released its own video, showing this time a man wearing a uniform being dragged in what looks like a tunnel, and weapons. The spokesman of Hamas's armed wing said its fighters have captured at least one soldier in an underground ambush.
Our fighters lured a Zionist force into a tunnel in the Jabalia camp and ambushed them inside the tunnel and at its entrance. Then, our fighters attacked the reinforcement force that rushed to the scene with explosives, hitting them directly.
The Israeli army says that fighting is intense and that Hamas has attacked its forces several times in northern Gaza on Saturday, but it denies any soldier has been captured in a short sentence posted on its website and social networks. The strikes in Gaza have again killed many civilians, and calls have multiplied to reach a ceasefire and a hostage release. Israeli officials have told media outlets that talks are due to resume to reach a deal, while a Hamas official says there is no concrete progress in that direction.
In a recent interview with The Economist, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called for the lifting of restrictions on allied weapons donated to Ukraine so that Ukrainian forces could use them to strike Russia as fighting continues in the Kharkiv region near the border. Meanwhile, France and Estonia haven't ruled out the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine.
The use of Western weapons to attack targets in Russia has long been a red line for Ukraine's allies. Speaking in an interview with The Economist, NATO boss Jens Stoltenberg says he wants that to change.
I think the time has come for allies to consider whether they should lift some of the restrictions they have put on the use of weapons they have donated to Ukraine, because especially now when a lot of the fighting is going on in Kharkiv, close to the border, to deny Ukraine the possibility of using these weapons against legitimate military targets on Russian territory makes it very hard for them to defend themselves.
Washington has stood firm on not helping Kyiv attack Russian territory, fearing it could escalate the conflict into a wider war. But it's facing growing pressure to scrap the policy. Some NATO countries, including France and Estonia, haven't ruled out the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine. Biden says that's an area he will not budge on.
There are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine. I'm determined to keep it that way. But we are standing strong with Ukraine, and we will stand with them.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky continues to call on allies to help shoot down Russian missiles. This as his country suffers setbacks amid Moscow's assault on Kharkiv. On Saturday, Zelensky condemned a Russian attack on a hardware store in the northeastern region as vile. The Ukrainian president used the bombing to make a fresh appeal for help.
When we tell leaders of the Western world we need sufficient air defences in order to stop the Russian terrorists from coming anywhere near our borders, we're talking about preventing terrorist attacks like this one.
It comes after Ukraine said on Friday that it had managed to halt Moscow's progress in Kharkiv and was counterattacking.
More than 670 people are assumed to have died in Papua New Guinea's massive landslide. The Immigration Agency estimated on Sunday as rescue efforts continued. Only 5 bodies had been retrieved from the rubble so far.
At the foot of a mountain in the Enga province of Papua New Guinea, a village lays buried. More than 150 homes and hundreds of lives have been lost. Locals in shock and mourning have been combing through some 6 to 8 metres of soil in search of victims and survivors since the landslide struck on Friday.
Around
3 o'clock a.m. and the locals on the ground, the boys right there at the back of me, they're telling me that this is a massive destruction that took place. And they were fast asleep, and all of a sudden the place was covered by rocks.
By Sunday, only 5 bodies had been recovered, all adults. Water power and major highways were cut off, hampering relief efforts. Local authorities were struggling to reach the site, leaving villagers isolated, using spades, agricultural forks and items on hand to dig. A convoy had travelled from the provincial capital to deliver food and supplies and to establish evacuation centres around the debris, with the local UN Migration Agency saying the area was still at risk.
Because of the land still sliding, the soil with the pressure on which neighboring communities are built is also pushing the ground, and that is also leading to cracks and extreme risk and danger for the other houses.
Enga, which is more than 600 kilometres from the capital Port Moresby, is home to several clans and farmers. Cultural issues are also a factor for relief workers, as tribal warfare is prominent in the region and along the main highway to deliver aid.
Roadblocks and riot hit New Caledonia, delaying patients' access to medical care as vehicles and ambulances travelling to hospitals and clinics are forced to slow down. Since 2 weeks ago, when protests and riots started, some nurses have taken to sleeping in hospitals.
The roads around New Caledonia's largest hospital are not secure, slowing the arrival of vehicles and ambulances.
We treat fractures that are several days old. We treat wounds that have become too infected. So yes, there is a delay in care.
Further south, the roadblocks leading to this clinic were cleared by force, but the establishment is still affected by the security situation. For 2 weeks, some nurses here have got used to sleeping on site. There's been an influx of patients since another dialysis centre in the area was forced to close. To cope, dialysis treatments are shorter and less frequent.
Performing 2 sessions per week, each lasting 2 hours, inevitably means not enough waste is purified and not enough water is in the body. The delays mean more emergency care.
With no home care, this patient has to remain hospitalized.
He has a large bandage on his foot because he has a perforated ulcer that requires care, so he has to stay here.
I want to leave, see my wife and children, but I can't.
It's even difficult for medical supplies to be delivered to patients' homes. This woman is relieved to receive an oxygen tank that she's been waiting for several days.
Tunisia's president abruptly replaced the Interior and Social Affairs ministers on Saturday night in a surprise cabinet reshuffle following a wave of arrests that has raised fresh fears for the health of the young democracy. The reshuffle comes on the heels of a string of arrests over the past 2 weeks of around 10 human rights activists, lawyers and journalists.
Carthage Palace was host to an unexpected changing of the guard on Saturday. President Kais Saied replaced 2 ministers believed to be close allies. City Governor Khaled Nouri now steps up as Interior Minister, and civil servant Kamal Madouri becomes Social Affairs Minister. A day before, hundreds of Tunisians marched against the president, calling him a dictator.
قاعدين نحسوا اليوم اني فما مساس من حرياتنا هذاك علاش حسينا ان لازم نرجعوا للشارع ولازم نتكلموا ندافعوا على حقوقنا هذه كما دفعنا عليها.
وفما اصوات اخرى عندها ثقل وعندها تاثير وعندها كلمتها في البلاد، رانا موجودين ورانا نرفضوا هذا، وراو قمعكم وسجونكم ماهيش مش ترهبنا.
The past 2 weeks, around 10 activists, lawyers and journalists have been arrested. That brings it to more than 60 detentions since 2022, including opposition figures as well. That year, President Zayed signed a decree which ostensibly aims to tackle fake news online. It's been used to mete out prosecutions, with 1-year prison sentences handed to 2 journalists on Wednesday for having criticised the government. Said was elected democratically 5 years ago, but has ruled by decree since seizing executive powers in 2021.
Former President Donald Trump faced sharp skepticism on his presidential bid when addressing libertarians on Saturday. President Joe Biden's weekend remarks focused on encouraging graduating gadgets to be the guardians of American democracy.
Unlike the supporting MAGA crowds he regularly encounters at his campaign rallies, Donald Trump faced several detractors at Saturday's Libertarian Party National Convention. Booing was heard when the Republican presidential candidate mentioned an article written by political commentator DeRoy Murdoch ahead of Trump's address.
DeRoy wrote, Donald J. Trump will address the Libertarian Party and its national convention on Saturday. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win.
Those attending did clap and cheer when Trump listed some of his priorities should voters approve of his return to the White House.
On education, we will cut federal funding for any school pushing Marxist and communist race and gender theories on our children. We will keep men out of women's sports. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
President Joe Biden, who is also bidding to get re-elected, addressed a different crowd on Saturday. Graduates of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York.
There's never been a time in history when we've asked our military to do so many different things in so many different places around the world, all at the same time.
While stressing that American soldiers will be kept off the battlefield, Biden emphasized the U.S. support for Ukraine. Furthermore, he talked about the role of the U.S. military in defending Israel from recent Iranian drone attacks and the work being done to facilitate humanitarian assistance into Gaza. The graduating cadets were also encouraged to, quote, hold fast to the values they learned at West Point.
But ideas need defenders to make them real. That's what you, the class of 2024, are all about. Defenders of freedom, champions of liberty, guardians, and I mean this, guardians of American democracy.
As the U.S. commemorates Memorial Day on Monday, Biden is expected to participate in the services planned at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. The Trump campaign released a statement paying tribute to fallen service members and also announced the launching of the so-called Veterans and Military Families for Trump coalition, with 175 endorsements to Trump's 2024 presidential bid. This week will be a busy one for the former president's lawyers as they present their closing arguments Tuesday to a 12-member jury in Trump's hush money criminal trial in New York.
An end to corruption, drug-related violence and pollution are some of the hopes and dreams of millions of young Mexicans preparing to vote in their first presidential election. In total, around 15 million people aged 18 to 24 years are able to choose a president on June 2nd, out of a total of 99 million registered voters, according to the National Electoral Institute.
20-year-old Camila is among millions of young people gearing up to cast their ballots in Mexico's landmark general election that's expected to see the country elect a female president for the first time in its history. With little enthusiasm for either of the two main candidates, Camila has yet to decide who to vote for on June the 2nd.
Why am I going to vote? Because it's necessary to be able to exercise a decision on how the country's decisions are handled. I think there's a general dissatisfaction with the candidates and the people who are running for the presidency right now. There is uncertainty. We're deciding for the least worst option.
Out of some 99 million registered voters, around 15 million are aged between 18 and 24. Some, including 21-year-old Ricardo, are hopeful that the election will bring about change.
I hope employers won't abuse working hours and that the daily wage and labour rights will be fairer.
Others are hoping that the future president will tackle drug-related violence in the country. Leading the polls is Claudia Sheinbaum, a climate scientist and former mayor of Mexico City. Sheinbaum, who has the support of the governing party, has promised to maintain many of the outgoing leftist president's policies, including a pension for all senior citizens and free fertilizers for small farm owners. Her main opponent is Xochitl Galvez, who previously served as the top official for Indigenous Affairs before becoming a senator.
May 20th marked Volodymyr Zelensky's 5th anniversary as Ukraine's president. By law, the president serves 5 years, but elections have been postponed while the country is under martial law.
This is a new face.
5 years ago in May, a new politician, but a familiar face to Ukrainians, became the country's president. 41-year-old actor, comedian and businessman Volodymyr Zelensky was inaugurated as Ukraine's 6th president.
Ukraine is a country of political paradoxes galore, and Zelensky's presidency is one of the most striking of them. Politics was to him an object of sarcasm, of sharp satire, and suddenly he found himself in the place of those he criticized and mocked.
In America, people were just amazed that this actor could not only win, but win by 73% of the vote. It was just amazing. But he didn't have a lot of experience, and I think in the early days you could see it took him some time to put together a team. It took some time for him to gain the experience he needed.
Among Zelensky's promises as president, to fight corruption and poverty, and to persuade Russian President Vladimir Putin to return Crimea and Donbas to Ukraine.
If I meet with Mr. Putin, I'll say to him, "Finally, you returned our territories. How much more money are you willing to keep giving us to compensate for the fact that you took our territories away?"
He thought he'd start negotiations with Putin, look him in the eyes, convince him that he wants peace and that Putin also wants peace. He tried to do that, but it didn't work. Turns out Zelensky wants peace, but Putin doesn't. Putin wants Ukraine to submit.
On February 24, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Many, including Western experts, believed Zelensky would flee, but he stayed and led.
Zelensky became a wartime leader. He changed, physically and psychologically. He almost stopped smiling. He looks more mature, tougher.
In 2022, both Time magazine and the Financial Times named Zelensky Person of the Year. He has made multiple trips to the front line, including Bakhmut and Avdiivka, as well as to the liberated towns of Bucha, Izum, and Kherson. He has spoken to the U.S. Congress twice and has met with U.S. President Joe Biden numerous times.
Overall, I think he's shown really strong leadership. Without that leadership, I don't know where Ukraine might be today.
Zelensky says he will remain president while Ukraine is under martial law.
Sweden, NATO's newest member, this week announced a 3-year plan to provide additional support for Ukraine, totaling more than $7 billion. The move comes amid concerns about Russia's growing aggression.
At the Kvarn Swedish Army base, U.S. and Swedish forces honed their skills in urban warfare. In this training exercise, American soldiers simulate the liberation of a town occupied by Russians, played by Swedish forces. Johan Strom is Sergeant Major of the Swedish Armed Forces and head of the Swedish Army's Combat Training Center for Military Operations on Urban Terrain in Kvarn. Strom says this training facility is one of the most technologically advanced in Europe, equipped with the laser systems, simulators, and video cameras.
The uniqueness of this facility is that every building is a player in our simulated system.
This site was built 10 years ago to train in a combat realistic environment. Strom explains that Russia's war in Ukraine has prompted the Swedish military to intensify its training to enhance its defense capabilities.
The increased intensity of the war in Ukraine has been going on since 2014, and there's a more sense of urgency in Europe, in the world, and in Sweden.
Sweden has one of the strongest military forces in the region. The military base commander in Kvarn, Lieutenant Colonel Ola Sandberg, explains that his country has built up its forces for historical reasons, and he highlights their ongoing training and preparation efforts.
As a non-NATO member during the Cold Wars and as a non-allied in a military alliance and also neutral, Sweden had to build up a strong military capability to be able to defend itself, and also a big military industrial complex to support that.
Now a member of NATO, Sweden is set to spend more than 2% of its GDP on defense this year. It aims to bolster NATO with its significant naval and air force capabilities and give the alliance control over the Baltic Sea and access to the Arctic. In addition to technological advantages, the Swedish military benefits from a gender-neutral conscription-based system, which provides a broader pool of soldiers and officers, says Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel Liridona Dauti. Around 4 million Swedes, almost equally male and female, and ages 17 to 47, are considered fit for military service.
There's no difference between the genders, and that's actually the strength of the Swedish Defence Forces. Doesn't matter what kind of gender you are, that matters is what kind of task you are. What are the tasks that you're going to solve?
The military officer, mother of 3 boys and expecting a 4th child, says the Russian assault on Ukraine has rapidly changed the security environment in Europe, which concerns her. She says her boys might have to become soldiers, but she and her country are doing all they can today, hoping to ensure they won't need to fight in the future.
Private land in the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard is being auctioned off by its owner with strong interest from Chinese buyers, according to a lawyer responsible for the auction. Such a sale would likely cause geopolitical headaches for Norway and NATO because of Svalbard's strategic location in the Arctic Ocean.
The archipelago of Svalbard lies about 650 kilometres off the Norwegian mainland in a geopolitical hotspot in the high Arctic. An international treaty gives Svalbard an unusual legal structure that bans most military activity, but in recent years that hasn't stopped countries, particularly Russia and Norway, from pursuing strategic aims. Now China may enter the mix. That's because in early May, a private owner put a 60 square kilometre stretch of land on the market for $326 million. And a lawyer in charge of the sale, Per Killingstad, says there is a concrete interest from Chinese buyers. Analysts say Norway would not support the sale to a Chinese buyer. Norway has said the sale requires its approval. Killingstad denies that.
This is not correct. 100% not correct. Got a legal opinion prior to some time ago, also from one of the largest law firms in Oslo on this, and it's absolutely clear.
The Norwegian Minister of Trade, Industry and Fisheries told VOA in a statement via email, "We do not agree with the lawyer responsible for the sale. There is also no permission to initiate negotiations regarding the transfer of the property without the consent from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries." Kylingstad says he is pushing ahead with the auction. One analyst told VOA why the Norwegian government might be looking to intervene in the sale.
The Arctic itself is getting a lot more international attention because of security concerns. There is a lot of worry that the Arctic is going to see quite a bit of spillover between the obviously worsened relations between the West and Russia. So the timing for this is rather distinct.
Analysts say China is interested in the Arctic to gain access to untapped natural resources, advantageous military positioning, and newly established shipping routes created by sea ice melt.
China has taken very great pains to stress that it has no military aims in the Arctic, and its military presence, China's military presence in the Arctic, has been very light. The only time that China has been involved militarily in the Arctic has been in cooperation with Russia.
Some experts have pointed out that the land being sold on Svalbard is designated as a national park. Driving a snowmobile across it would likely be illegal, so any uses of the land for a potential buyer beyond research would be problematic. But Kylingstad says buyers are focused on the long-term benefits of owning the land.
They are looking at this in a long-term horizon to get a foothold in the Arctic and are not necessarily looking into what they can do up there during the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, maybe 30 years, 50 years, maybe 100 years, because this is the only opportunity you would have to acquire land in the so-called high Arctic.
Kylingstad said the seller, which local media say is a company owned by a Russian-born Norwegian, was not concerned about selling to countries like China, which have poor human rights records. He pointed out that philanthropists might just as easily buy the land. But ultimately, Kylingstad said the land will be sold to the highest bidder.
It's 25 minutes after 7. Thank you for staying with us. That's it for international news. Let's go for an ad break.
If you have recovered from COVID but still have some symptoms, could that be long COVID? How long do these symptoms last? Is there treatment available? Here to talk about long COVID today is Dr. Jamie Rylance. Welcome, Jamie. Jamie, talk to us about long COVID. How does it affect people?
Yeah, thanks, Visma. It's a pleasure to be here. So long COVID can happen to anybody after their acute illness. It can come on as a continuation of symptoms or new symptoms, and it can last a long time. The problem is the symptoms are very variable. Patients may have difficulty recognising that they have it, and healthcare workers, to be honest, can also struggle to identify it. But if you're a typical long COVID patient, you might have fatigue, feeling tired all the time, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, difficulty sleeping, shortness of breath. Those are the main symptoms, but there's so many others. One of the problems is that those symptoms can also represent other medical illnesses. So it's really important to get the diagnosis right, and healthcare workers and patients need to work together to do that. So when scientists have looked for what are the underlying causes of long COVID, there's many different abnormalities that have been seen. Things like very small blood clots or altered immune cell responses, abnormal triggering and responses within the nervous system, or changes in the usual bugs, the microbiome that we usually carry around with us. And that being so many different possibilities, there's no single one diagnostic test. That said, we need to get patients onto treatment. We focus on the things that are bothering them, the symptoms, and making sure their function comes back to normal.
Jamie, do people experience long COVID differently? Are symptoms different, and why?
Well, the obvious thing is no two people are the same, and it can be very different. That said, we do know some things that might predict whether you're more at risk of having long COVID or for how long the symptoms might last for.
Jamie, talk to us about vaccination.
So vaccination does help. It protects you against severe COVID disease, and it protects you against long COVID. At the other end of the spectrum, people who've had particularly severe disease are more likely to have long COVID, and the symptoms are likely to last longer. And that's people who have been admitted to hospital, or particularly to the intensive care unit. But we know that the health of people before COVID is really important as well. So long-standing or pre-existing health problems, respiratory disease, mental health problems, but many others can increase the risk that you suffer long COVID. And therefore, it's really important to try and keep and maintain a healthy lifestyle as much as possible. So we know that long COVID is a global problem. It can occur to anyone, anywhere in the world. What we need is for primary healthcare professionals to be able to recognise, assess and treat patients with long COVID. And the way people access their healthcare will vary around the world. Sometimes there may be specialty services for COVID, sometimes there may be specialist doctors. But very frequently, and particularly where resources are limited, there are not. And so it's really important that we empower primary healthcare providers to give patient-centred care close to home. And that's what we're doing at WHO, making guidance to help healthcare workers deliver high-quality care and educational materials to support them to do so.
So, Jamie, how long do the symptoms last? And even though we don't have a pill per se, how can we help people who are suffering from long COVID?
Well, the first thing is that most people recover fully, and that can take months. And of course, some people we know are badly affected for years. Although there isn't a specific medical treatment, what we really need to do is assess and treat patients for the problems that they have. Often that's associated with rehabilitation, getting people back to functional status to enjoy life and health. There are specific medical treatments for some people, and overall that goes a long way to helping increase quality of life. So I'm optimistic in the science delivering more treatments, and that's hundreds of clinical trials going on at present, and I'd encourage people to get involved where they feel able and where they're offered. So there's hope, I think, in terms of new treatments. But apart from the medical treatment, I think the biggest obstacle that people with long COVID feel at the moment is that their disease is not recognised. They're told that their brain fog or other symptoms are not real, and that's demoralising. So what they need is kindness and support through their treatment, and that comes from their family, their friends, their employers, because it's in everyone's best interests that people with long COVID don't feel alone and feel that they're supported throughout their recovery.
Thank you, Jamie. That was Science in 5 today. Until next time, then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stick with science.
Eswatini National Petroleum Company proudly presents to you the Monday edition of Market View, where business news are reported and analyzed by a cast of experts and correspondents to deliver unrivaled facts and figures from the business world. Catch this edition every Monday at 2 p.m., brought to you by Eswatini National Petroleum Company.
Minutes after 7. Welcome back to the program, and thank you for staying with us. We get into our sports segment now. We have Fabrice Msonera in studio. A really good morning to you and welcome to the show, Fabrice. Really love having conversations with you. I hope today we can agree on a lot of things because, you know, Malik Sagapelile.
Yeah,
and I think
quite finished.
me and you are happy for Manchester United for winning
Not
the
really,
FA Cup.
I'm not
are you not, as an Arsenal fan, are you not tired of seeing City win everything? At least it must have comforted you to
as a
see
neutral
them lose.
friend, not a neutral fan, not an Arsenal fan.
Oh man, you're such a traitor.
Yeah. But you might be right in terms of being fair, in terms of looking at how other teams have done. Because now if you look at the calendar, Liverpool won the Carling Cup, Carabao Cup, City the league, FA Cup, Manchester. They beautiful. Community Shield, Arsenal, beginning of the season.
Right.
Because now there were trends that Arsenal didn't win anything. They won something at the beginning of the season. That was the Community Shield.
Yeah, but maybe let me premise where this conversation starts. This conversation emanates from Manchester United beating Manchester City over the weekend, the 25th of May. Score was 2-1. This game was played at the Wembley Stadium. We saw goals by Kobe Mino and Alejandro Garnacho for Manchester United. And Jeremy Doku netted a late goal for Manchester City. And Manchester United, Njogobanbonagma Visuals, became the eventual winners of the FA Cup. Fabrice says he's not necessarily happy for Manchester United, but he's also not mad, because he's not a big fan of City. What does this mean for United after having such a horrible season?
I think that's where the emotions were for the players and then for everyone who support Manchester United. They've had a horrible season. Talks about the coach leaving, talks about the coach not playing the kind of football they believe in. So, and that's where there were trends that he just won one first cup in one of the terrible seasons of the club, and they've qualified also for the Europa League. Then it tells you that maybe should he be given a chance, there's talks still to be held. But but I think I mean, if you change and bring someone else, what makes you think that you also get results? It's either you stick to him or you let him go. But the current business of football we have today is that you don't give me results, you leave. Which I think that's where maybe the bosses are fine. FA Cup, yes, but can we put a question mark to say next season we want better? That's where you are. But for City, I would say City didn't have a season that this is not a season they expected. They thought that maybe they could have 2 trophies, League and a Champions League or the FA Cup. It was a surprise. They just won the League only, which I think now next season is going to be very key. Pep will come hard. Arteta will come hard. Whoever replaces Chelsea or take over Chelsea, take over Liverpool, they'll also try to do something. Tottenham will come hard. Manchester United will come hard. So we have a really good season coming up. And I think the transfer window, the talks are already there. I can't wait and see. Now, this is how they actually lifted the trophies. League winners, which is Carabao Cup. Then you've got Manchester City, who are the champions for the 4th time in a row, 6th time in over 7 seasons now. And then you've got also Manchester United lifting with the FA Cup. Now, it shows also how you get results if you stick to what you believe in. I mean, if you look at the likes of Garnacho, Maino, all these young kids, showing talent and caliber, then it says a lot. Now, with City now winning the league and Manchester United winning the FA Cup, so Arsenal will not play the Community Shield, because the Community Shield is played between the champions, the league winners and the FA Cup winners. But this is how the season ended. You've got the first 4 teams going for Champions League: City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Aston Villa. And these are Champions League teams. And then you've got Spurs, you've got Manchester United, and you've got Chelsea. Also, the 3 are heading to the Europa League. Then after that, you've got the likes of West Ham, Brighton, who will be heading to Europa League. Do they deserve it? Yes, but I think mostly I was shocked by the performance by Chelsea, how they came into the 2nd round of the season, coming up with good results. Oof, what a performance it was. And then I think whoever comes in have a tough job to do, because Posh was really coming out okay. We've now, we've started seeing some of the headlines already internationally. I know there's still the Champions League final coming on Saturday, which is the 1st of June. This Saturday. This is by Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid. We still have the Conference League, Europa Conference League, coming up this Wednesday. So then it tells you that Olympiacos are playing this Wednesday. Then it tells you that teams have some players already on holidays, but the talks are there. Who wants to get the best players? Who wants to get the best coach? But I think so far the biggest surprise, it's Vincent Kompany for Bayern Munich. I think that's the biggest surprise.
That's a big one, indeed.
How do you, from being a defender that was the most hard defender on you, when as an opponent, those are the days when Kompany used to play for City and Harry Kane was playing for Tottenham Hotspur. 4 years later now, I'm your boss. When we used to meet, you used to give me a hard time as a striker, because the record between Kompany and Kane is quite interesting. Now today you're my boss.
I think
It's
it's
quite
the
interesting.
beauty of the football
Yeah,
ecosystem,
yeah.
and we always see it, how it never throws players out the window.
Yeah.
You still have a career after. You can be an analyst, you can be a coach, you can be an assistant coach, you can, whatever Spiro Shabalala is doing right now, touring the world. I saw him in the Arsenal locker rooms over the weekend. You know, he was also amongst some of the biggest stars like Kylian Mbappe over the weekend. So it's just a beautiful sight to see what football does for people after football. David Beckham, we've seen him, you know, managing Lionel Messi. In fact,
True, true.
Iniesta is still playing, by the way. Grey hairs. So it's quite interesting what happens. But I do want us to go back to, you know, some of these teams that we have spoken about. The UEFA Champions League in particular, you know, seeing the teams that have qualified. And I think it's too early to make predictions as to, you know, who's going to win it. But maybe based on, you know, the current form of teams and the coaches.
We're talking about next season.
Yeah, next season. If they will be able to compete, and maybe that gives us an opportunity to talk about potential changes. I think we had a conversation last week outside of the studio that, you know, Manchester City and Pep, people argue that Pep is not that great because he's always lucky with players. You know,
no.
So I know that your perspective is different.
Some people are really not paying attention to details, Fiso, because I don't think that's true. I think this guy is a genius. I think what this guy has done with the English football, because I'll tell you what, I can give you money, Fiso. I've seen it with other coaches like your Mourinho. Not to say he's a bad coach. I can give you money, but you still don't get the right product. Then it doesn't change anything. This guy, there are players he bought, and you wouldn't think they would give him what he wants. But
make an example. Make examples.
I'll give you like John Stones when he bought him from Everton.
Okay.
Akanji from Dortmund. He doesn't buy your huge names. If you're a coach,
huge names.
Yeah. If you're a coach right now, you want to rebuild Chelsea and you want maybe good defenders and everyone, you'll be like, let me go back to Madrid and get Rudiger because Rudiger is making a name. This guy will go get another defender. Trust me, you get another defender this summer. This guy will get another midfielder. This guy will get the right combination. I give you that. Okay, look at Jeremy Doku. Look at Jeremy Doku.
The debate.
Look at Jeremy Doku.
But the debate is he joins teams that have just won a trophy the previous season. It happened with Barcelona.
Yeah, but when he took the Barcelona team, it's the culture. He was from B, Barcelona B. He went to A. It's a sort of saying
so
that
when he went to C?
No, from there then he went to Bayern. Guys, let's not do this. This guy we don't want to take credits from him. Like I said, so that it's what he does with football.
So him having Ronaldinho, Eto'o, Puyol at Barcelona.
Yes, when he inherited them. But he changed the side of football. And the confidence he gave the players. He brought in Pedro. People didn't believe in Pedro. He brought in Sanchez. He found them there, but he made them different. I feel like I was actually watching some of the previous game of City. I feel like when Pep has you as a player, you change. But I feel like when he doesn't have you as a player anymore, you know, I'm looking at the players that don't play for City anymore. They're not themselves. Look at Sterling. When he decided to sell you, he feels like you're not giving him more. I'm looking at some of the players, even Jesus for Arsenal.
Okay, so I want you to do this for me. Let's do this, Fabrice. Let's do this because we cannot debate that he goes into good teams. That is not a debate.
Let me tell you what.
No.
The current situation in England.
Fabrice, hear my question. We cannot debate that he goes into teams that has great players.
Yeah.
But what I want you to do to justify your point is with every team that is joined, name the great signings that is made. By great signings, I mean people that he took in and made them great. Right, because like I've already alluded, Barcelona, he already had Ronaldinho, Eto'o, Puyol.
Okay.
Bayern, he had Ribery, he had Robert. So the players that he then signed, where we're like, the current state of the team, just like right now, we feel like City's looking good. You know, they've had quite the season.
Yeah.
He's probably going to make new signings, and we'll be like, not so much. But maybe
let's start with Barcelona.
Let's go.
Let's start with Barcelona. He gets to Barcelona, he found the big names.
Right.
But he said, you know what, I'll stick to the culture.
Okay.
That's one. By sticking to the culture, I'll promote from the young squad. He took Pedro. He took Busquets.
Pedro was great.
Busquets was great. He took Manchester United. He took Piqué from Manchester United.
Okay.
He returned to Barcelona. I think that's enough.
Oh, that's okay.
Fine,
That's fair.
Then
I'll
you've got your Messi. Messi's then Eto'o. But at least he decided to say, no, I'll stick to the identity
and they
of the
become
club.
starting 11 material.
And then there was Alex Sanchez, remember, he played for Arsenal, he played for Manchester United. Those are some of the players, He did that, and you cannot deny that. He went to, went to Bayern Munich, Bayern Munich, I wouldn't say...
He finds Robben, Ribery. That was a great team.
But his best achievement... I wouldn't really call it under the Robben. It's when I think when he then decided to say, let's stick to the players like Lewandowski. I think he had during his
made
time.
him great.
He was a better striker. Philip Lahm. You know what? You can decide to hang the boot. I see potential in Kimmich. I think Kimmich, when he sits today, is one of the biggest coach to make him a better player as a German player. It's Pep Guardiola. Then let's move to England, where I think currently he's done what.
Did he win? Did he win the Champions League?
No, he didn't win the Champions League. He won the league. He won the the German Cup. So that's why maybe you wouldn't say the success was there. But now for City, they have never won a Champions League in their history. He gave them a Champions League. In the history of the English football, the only coach to win the treble, which is the league, the FA Cup, and the Champions League, was Ferguson. He came in last year. He broke that record.
When he signed the best striker in the world.
I mean, like I said, I can give you the best striker, but if you don't know how to use that best striker,
just like he couldn't use it in the against Manchester United.
Real Madrid when they signed Hazard, then was one of the key players in the world. When Barcelona signed Coutinho, then he was one of the good players in the world. I can give you other players that he signed you didn't know, you didn't think they would. Look at Alvarez, one of the key players in the City side. Look at Foden. He got it from the juniors of the team.
Wasn't Alvarez a star player winning the World Cup the previous season?
But when he won the World Cup, he was already a City player. He brought him from South America. When he brought him from South America, I mean, like, there are names that I think next season. Look at the goalkeeper Edison. When he came in, you will say, he brought a goalkeeper from Benfica FC Porto. Let's see what happens. Today is one of the biggest.
I'll tell you what, Fabrice, you're the first person to really convince me to actually look at
smart. Look at the type of football we play in England. In England now, almost every team is building from the back. Almost every team now has converted either a right back or a left back to a midfielder. We've seen that with
that's the
Trent.
Guardiola effect.
Yeah, that's the Guardiola effect. We've seen that from Trent becoming a midfielder. We've seen that for Zinchenko, Arsenal becoming a midfielder. And it started with what? Zinchenko when he was playing for City. He's done it with Stones. Look at the defenders. I mean, when he took Kovacic, we said a lot about Kovacic. He can't do much with Chelsea, but how he used him with City differently now. And he said he won't go anywhere. He's part of the plan. Come next season, this guy will go buy new players. And
so
I tell you what,
the debate is not whether Pep is great.
No,
Pep is great. He's one of one. But the
smart.
conversation is when compared to the adversities that other coaches have had to face, and eventually becoming winners just like him, the likes of Jose Mourinho.
I wouldn't really rate him there, Mourinho. I wouldn't. He's, I mean, even because you're a winner based on what you've won. I mean, if you look at Ferguson, is it 39 trophies now? Ferguson 40, 39. Then you've got Pep somewhere there, 31, 32 trophies. Mourinho's behind there. But he's okay. He's a good coach. Trust me. Mourinho is a winner.
So for you, the greatest coaches of all time, Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah,
then Guardiola.
Yeah, club level. When we talk about club level, yeah. And I think Guardiola, and I keep saying this, and I will say it next season, and I say, as long as this is going to be hard for maybe some of the supporters like Arsenal, as long as Guardiola is in England, no other team will win the league. This guy is good such that he's very good in every aspect. This guy is good.
So with the current form of his team, we saw what happened when they didn't have KDB, right?
Yeah.
They were in a slump. He had to come back, and he really said that.
That's what I'm saying.
So my question is, what are we expecting from him going into UEFA next season?
That's what I want to say.
Who is he signing? What changes does he have to make?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Prior to the 3 trophies that he won last year, the previous year, before he signed Haaland, he won the league with that number 9. He was using a false number 1, using Kevin De Bruyne, Silva, and Gundogan. I know the producer, he's not agreeing with me. He wants other effects. But I'm telling you, then he comes in. That's what I'm saying. People will say now...
Why are you bringing the producer into our conversation?
I know he doesn't agree because he has a difference. So I can give you the money right now and say, go to the market and get players. Because that's why people lose it. They say, City has money. City has money. But you can have money if you don't get the right players.
Yeah.
Right now, trust me, right now, he will get a midfielder and he will get another defender. After Gabriel and Saliba, no mistake, they were the best defenders in the league last season. But the confidence of the City players and what he does with you, what he makes you feel and changes you, you become a different player. And then they talk about him with the players. Even some of the great coaches tell you that if you see what Pep does with that team, that's what I'm saying, the league, he knows when to... August to December to January, you might start predicting City has a chance, Liverpool has a chance. But once it hit March, everyone knows that he's a serial winner. I mean, I'm looking at some of the players.
Do we have another squad that we can potentially put next to Manchester City and be like, worthy opponents? Or it's an unfair advantage for City?
I think if you had to mix both squad, Arsenal have a squad. Arsenal, I think their squad is strong maybe compared to City defensively.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
just defensively.
Yeah, defensively.
But as a whole, because you need 11 men to win the game.
Going forward, you look at the goals. Yes, they provide the goals. But for me, if you take a number 9 and a number 10, you give me Kevin De Bruyne and you give me Haaland, then to Arsenal you have a serious problem because there's no number 9 that you have. Yeah. You might have your Odegaard and everything, but you don't have that number 9. And right now, Odegaard, trust me, he's a very good player, but he still needs to get to where Kevin De Bruyne is. And I don't think he's there yet because Kevin De Bruyne...
Will he be there next season?
Kevin De Bruyne now is being considered amongst the best midfielder to ever grace the English football. He's up there with some of the names we've had.
Steven Gerrard.
All right. Your Yaya Toure, your Frank Lampard. Trust me, yeah. I think Odegaard, after 2 seasons, he could be there, but De Bruyne is just
not
there.
Right now.
Yeah, De Bruyne is just there.
Not Fabrice, you've made the great case for Guardiola, and you've convinced me personally.
Yeah, I know he's
so I'll go with what you're saying. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the La Liga.
Yeah.
Match day 38 of 38. These were the last final match days of the La Liga season. Notable outcomes, if you really study what happened, the Real Madrid's draw with Real Betis and Barcelona's decisive victory over Getafe. When the season started, the team Girona there, slapper, 7 goals against Granada. That's part of some of the notable wins. Yeah, pretty much. Let's talk about it. Real Madrid, obviously, I don't want to talk about Madrid. Go ahead.
I was shocked with the results. Like I said, so by the end of the season, we should have Girona behind the 2 teams. I felt like that.
You did say that.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid, I was quite disappointed. How come they didn't push for that 3rd position? But I think for Madrid, dropping points midweek, they knew they have won the league. They knew that they're preparing for Champions League. So I don't think it was mostly the focus of trying to win. But I think the bigger picture was seeing Cruz playing Toni Kroos playing his last game of La Liga, since he's going to be hanging out his boots at the end of the season. And after that, 9 years at the club. And it is so painful to see after the 2014 World Cup, so when Toni Kroos left Bayern and went to Madrid, how people were treated, but he ended up being one of the good players. Now, teams like Atletico Madrid, FC Barcelona, also getting back to the score sheet. Oof, this guy, I think he's good. He was good. Yeah. I think his midfield.
What a career, man.
Yeah, I think their midfield, him, with Casemiro and Luka Modric. I think with Modric now the only player left. I think Modric also is probably left with 1 season, because slowly. The so-called big guns are coming out. Casemiro left, now Kroos is leaving, which I think is good, because when they are gradually, letting these players go and the so-called young players are coming up. I mean, you come in as Bellingham, you play with Kroos, you play with Modric 1 or 2 seasons. The 3rd season you can handle it on your own. So I think it's what the generation of Madrid they have been doing for years and years.
No.
Yeah, keeping, and then we still have Mbappe coming in. Oof, what a team is going to be next season, which I think maybe they also stand a chance to win the Champions League. Yeah, you know, Barcelona bringing in a different coach now after firing Xavi, the German coach, the former Bayern and national team coach from Germany. There's too much being talked about them not being in a stable team. You know, there's a lot of changes. Can they buy players? Do they have what it takes to compete against a Madrid that is now going for Mbappe? I think, yeah, Carlo Ancelotti has done a beautiful job. You know, the first coach to actually win the Champions League twice as a player and then win it more than twice as a coach. So it tells you the history of the coach. But the players like Bo Cruz and Luka Modric and Casemiro, and I mean, Sergio Ramos, these guys
did you see the heartfelt message from Jude Bellingham to Toni Kroos?
Yeah.
Yeah, his outgoing message. He said 1 year was not enough to play with him.
Yeah.
And he said, thank you for everything you have given to the game. It's been an absolute pleasure to enjoy your football and personality as a fan, and even more as a team.
And you know the guy was saying that?
Yeah.
He's only 20.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, he's Bellingham. When you look at him, I felt like this guy, he matured at probably 16. When he's that's Bellingham.
Yeah.
You've got both Vinicius, they are probably 22, 23. This guy is 20.
Yeah, and he's already playing at the highest level.
This guy played the World Cup only 18.
Yeah.
And he was just, he's just so good.
So can we make a bold statement now and say maybe Jude Bellingham with, you know, Cristiano and Messi?
No, it's early. It's
too early.
Yeah, it's too
Have we
early.
seen anything like him and maybe Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius?
In the midfield, is maybe it's the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have to. Let's not really go to Bellingham yet, but you have to look at Haaland and Mbappe. I think that's the generation that has replaced Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, man. But
Mbappe. Here's the thing.
And it's
Mbappe needs just to probably next season, if he wins the Euro with France.
Yeah.
Mbappe, if he wins the Euro with France this year,
yeah,
and maybe he wins the Champions League with Madrid next season, then here comes your golden ball actually, the Ballon d'Or. Yeah. So I think if he wins the Euro and then he wins Champions League with Madrid, that's a chance. For a player like Haaland, he just needs to keep scoring goals. Unfortunately for the national team, Norway, they don't do much in terms of international victories. So I think much of his work has to be done on the club level. So those are the two players that currently now we talk about, Haaland and Mbappe. If you look at what they have both done in Champions League, numbers are just huge, and they are very. They have got time, because I think for Mbappe, 25, this is the peak of a career. This is when you need to show the world what you're capable of. And mind you, by 25, Ronaldo had a Ballon d'Or then. Ronaldo had the Champions League. Messi had a Ballon d'Or, had the Champions League. So I think he's quite behind schedule. And he knows that if by the age of 22, Manchester United, Cristiano had a Ballon d'Or in the Champions League, Messi by the age...
We will never see that Messi, Cristiano.
Yeah, so he knows he's behind schedule. He knows that he needs to start winning from next season.
And these guys only score, what? How many goals in a calendar season?
Yeah,
at
60,
most
70.
60, 70. And Messi and Ronaldo used to give us 90. Messi even gave us 105 in 2011. So we'll never see anything like them ever, maybe. Yeah. Fabrice, thank you for joining us on the program today. I just wanted to, I'm afraid we don't have time, but Singers have confirmed their CAF interest. So that is going to be another developing story that maybe we'll discuss on Friday. Hopefully they will have announced already who's going to, fill up that spot.
Even Babane Highland has also confirmed their interest.
So it's going to be interesting indeed. Thank you so much for joining us, Fabrice. That is the end of our sports segment.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
kunjalo masondo amahle kunathi lesa
sabadandi ukuthi njengalokhu
sifile sive sithi khulumeni.
Minutes before 8 o'clock, we've come to the end of our program.
Just 1 minute.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, sesifike emaphethelweni. Asambe kumine ngemisebenzi yelive ibanti kakhulu live lenkosi lingaka nasilibambele nale asivele sigocodelele encenye imphinzi usibone nakubumbana insimbi yesibili. I mean, yeah, kunelihlelo Market View sponsored by Stalibona ngalo 2 p.m.